The new intern in the operating room proudly calls herself the cute and innocent junior sister. She carelessly administered the wrong dosage of anesthetic, causing the pregnant woman's heart to stop during the operation, resulting in the death of both the mother and the unborn child. During the accident investigation, with an innocent look on her face, she threw herself into the arms of my fiancé, who is the chief physician. I'm just an intern. I don't know why Aria prescribed a double dosage even though she knew the patient was pregnant. I was angrily questioned by the family members of the deceased, but my colleagues and fiancé only gently comforted her. It's your first time in the operating room. How could you know so much? As the chief surgeon, she must take full responsibility for such a major accident. I wanted to prove my innocence, but I found that my fiancé had already tampered with the intraoperative records for her, distorted the facts, shifted the blame onto me, and made me her scapegoat. At the press conference, my fiancé said to the reporters in the room with righteous indignation, "Aria is unworthy of being a doctor. She's a murderer. A murderer should pay with their life. That's only right and proper." On the day my practicing physician's license was revoked, the family members of the deceased came to my door and stabbed me to death with a knife. Later, Viper replaced me as the youngest and most talented doctor and married my fiancé. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the operation. The anesthesia injection is complete. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn during that operation that determined my life and death. The pain of being stabbed in the abdomen by a sharp knife had not yet dissipated. While I was still in a daze, I heard Viper's voice. Reacting instinctively, I gave the order, check the anesthesia dosage immediately. Although the nurse was puzzled, she still stepped forward to check, and then let out a scream. My God, how could it all be used up? Isn't this operation supposed to be under semi-anesthesia? The pregnant woman had already gone into shock at this time. Cold sweat broke out on my back. But I still calmed down and gave the orders for resuscitation and cesarean section. The rebirth point was already late. I had to stay calm to save the pregnant woman and the fetus who had died miserably in my previous life. Seeing that I looked normal, everyone gradually calmed down, and the series of processes from resuscitation to cesarean section went smoothly. After taking out the fetus, my surgical gown was soaked with blood and sweat. Everyone has worked hard. I'll leave the suturing to you. An excessive dosage of anesthetic during the operation is a very serious medical accident, especially in a cesarean section. If not careful, it could lead to the death of both the mother and the baby. And the culprit, Viper, had already slipped out of the operating room at an unknown time. When I changed my clothes and returned to the office, I saw her right away, complaining to my junior brother traitor. I'm just an intern. I don't know anything. I really didn't do it on purpose. When she saw me come back, she immediately came up to me, "Senior sister. I was really scared to death just now. How can you be a doctor if you prescribe medicine so randomly like this?" I didn't say anything and slapped her hard. Slap. You almost caused the death of both the mother and the baby. And you're still acting all innocent here? Her eyes immediately turned red and she started to whimper. Traitor almost hugged her into his arms to comfort her the moment she started crying. At the same time, he didn't forget to retort at me, "She's just an intern. And it's her first time in the operating room. What does she know?" The commotion here soon attracted the attention of our colleagues. Viper sobbed and said loudly, "I was just following the doctor's orders. It was clearly senior sister who prescribed the wrong dosage of anesthetic. Why are you shifting the blame onto me?" I couldn't bear it any longer. I grabbed her collar and scolded, "Here is the medicine requisition form. The anesthesia dosage before the operation has been verified by me and 3 parties. Open your eyes that only see men and take a good look. Which dosage is wrong? Even if we take a step back, semi-anesthesia for cesarean section is basic knowledge for a doctor. What's on your neck? A hollow skeleton?" Viper's voice became more and more aggrieved. But, I'm just an intern. It's normal to make a mistake. Right. If senior sister still feels angry about that slap just now, you can slap me 2 more times. Slap. Slap. I was quick to respond. I immediately slapped her on both sides of her face. She covered her face with both hands and looked at me in disbelief. She didn't expect that when she played the pitiful card. I would really hit her. Traitor immediately rushed forward to argue. The patient didn't have any problems. Do you have to target Viper like this? I sneered, for such a big medical accident. Just because the patient is okay. We don't need to write a report. It's just that the patient is okay. If the patient had died on the operating table today, would you be the one to take the blame for her? Are you qualified to do so? As soon as I mentioned taking responsibility, the two of them immediately shut up. But the next second, a voice came from the door, as the chief surgeon. You should be responsible for such a big accident during the operation. The one who spoke was Baxter, the youngest professor in our hospital and also my fiancé. He pushed his glasses. Viper is just an intern. It's understandable that she made a mistake with the anesthesia dosage in a panic. As the chief surgeon, I interrupted him impatiently. Shut up. Understandable? For a matter related to life and death, can you just let it go with a simple understandable? Baxter, if you hadn't meddled, how could such an important part as the anesthesia be given to an intern? As a doctor, you should be responsible for the patients. If I hadn't checked the anesthesia dosage, there would be 2 lives dead in front of you now. As her teaching supervisor, I'm telling you right now that she won't pass the internship. She's unqualified. I will write the responsibility report truthfully. And then we'll see how the hospital will punish it. I turned to Viper. Today, you made a mistake with the anesthesia dosage and almost caused the death of both the mother and the baby. You won't be allowed to enter the operating room for the entire internship period. Write an apology letter for me tomorrow and apologize to the patient. If you don't want to, you can get out of here right now. After saying that, I turned to leave, but was blocked by Traitor. We're all from the same school of thought. Don't you think you're being too heartless? I glanced at him inferently and retorted. Is she being heartless when she doesn't care about the patient's life or death? You'll be happy when she really causes the death of both the mother and the baby in the future? Viper couldn't stop sobbing. Senior sister is the leader. Whatever she says is right. If senior sister says I'm wrong, then I must be wrong. But senior sister, don't lose your temper with others. If you have any dissatisfaction, just target me. She wiped away her tears and continued. Senior sister, can you please not be so cruel? If I'm punished during the internship, I won't be able to get my graduation certificate. With her tearful appearance, my colleagues felt so sorry for her and all spoke up for her one after another. Viper didn't do it on purpose. Why are you holding on to this so tightly? She's really unlucky to have a teaching supervisor like you. They say you're jealous that Viper is more popular and liked than you. Could it be true? This group of people is like this. Good looks mean justice to them. Those who are flattering, cute, and can say nice things are liked by them. When something happens, they will only protect Viper. In the whole department, I don't know how many people have cleaned up Viper's mess. Which is why she is so fearless. I coldly scanned everyone present. I think all of you here know very well how much the dosage of anesthetic affects the operation. It's better for me to hold on to this matter today and for someone to use the wrong anesthesia dosage again in the future and cause the death of both the mother and the baby. As a doctor, if you don't value life, then who will be willing to entrust their life to you? When you need medical treatment in the future, would you dare to entrust your life to such a colleague? Then I turned around and warned Viper, I don't care who recommended you to intern in our department. In short, I will never let you enter the operating room again. An imbecile who doesn't even have basic common sense is not worthy of it. After saying that, I left the department and prepared to do the ward round. But after the ward round, before I reached the office, I saw from a distance that Viper, with her delicate makeup, was kneeling in front of my office door. It seemed that she had been kneeling for a while, and there were quite a few people gathered around her in layers. When she saw me come back, she immediately started kowtowing to me, Senior sister. I shouldn't have contradicted you in front of so many people. Just consider it my fault. Please be magnanimous and let me off this time. Don't make me fail the internship assessment. I'm already used to her like this. Whenever she encounters some difficulty, she will play the pitiful card in public to gain sympathy. Many people have suffered because of their soft hearts. But I've never fallen for this. You don't need to kowtow to me. I'm afraid it will shorten my lifespan. It's better that you go and kowtow to the family members while they haven't held you accountable yet." After saying that, I walked straight past her and entered the office. When I came out and prepared for the next operation, the people gathered outside had already dispersed. Someone who is just putting on a show can't really persist for long. There were 2 more consecutive operations. By the time they ended, it was already dawn. When I came out of the operating room, I was so tired that my legs were weak and I almost fell down. But I still had an outpatient clinic today. It was very strange. There were very few patients today. And the few who were there all looked at me with strange eyes. After the outpatient clinic ended, the last patient finally couldn't help but ask, "That? Are you the doctor in that live broadcast?" This patient was quite familiar with me. Seeing my confused look, he directly took out the live broadcast replay. "Look, what? It's this live broadcast." It said that she was being bullied and threatened at work. There were more than 100,000 people watching it at that time. It also said that you prescribed the wrong dosage of medicine and made the intern take the blame. I thought this person looked like you. So I was wondering if there was some misunderstanding. So I recorded the screen. The screen being played on the phone was exactly the scene of Viper kowtowing to me. The live broadcast started when she knelt in front of my office door and lasted for a full half an hour. She really knows how to use public opinion to whitewash herself. I asked the patient to send the screen recording to my phone. When I returned to the department, I saw a group of people pushing Viper towards the emergency room. When Raider saw me come back, he immediately accused me. Viper slit her wrists and committed suicide. "Are you happy that you drove her to death?" I was just about to reason with him when I saw a large number of reporters surging forward. At the same time, Baxter opened the door with a dark face and forcefully dragged me into the office. The director of the department was sitting inside with a solemn face, clearly having been waiting for me for a long time. "Aria, is this how you act as a teaching instructor?" When I came here, I saw that Viper's face was swollen from the slap you gave her. You even resorted to bullying and made her kowtow and apologize to you. And she knelt outside your office door for half an hour. What on earth do you think you are? Is the hospital a place for you to show off your power? Before I could open my mouth, Traitor, who had dealt with the reporters outside, came in and preempted me, saying, "Director, Viper has long told me that she's very afraid of Aria. During her internship in the hospital, Aria would often beat and scold her, and always assigned her an excessive amount of work tasks. She was often so busy that she couldn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights. This time, it was also because of the excessive work pressure that led to the wrong use of the anesthesia dosage. It was just a small accident. But Aria just wouldn't let it go. Couldn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights? It was clearly that she herself skipped the shift on duty. And in the end, she could only swap shifts with others, resulting in her having to work continuously for 2 days. Whose fault was that? Director. That shift on duty. Baxter, who had been frowning and keeping silent, interrupted me. "Director, I've already understood the whole process of the incident. It was just a small accident. As the chief surgeon, not checking the dosage of the anesthetic, Aria should bear full responsibility. Moreover, her bullying behavior is obviously intentional. She even threatened Viper with disciplinary action and the failure of her internship." The director raised his hand and splashed the water in the cup onto my face, yelling angrily, "Do you get to decide whether there should be a disciplinary action or not? You even threaten people with the internship. You really disappoint me so much." Baxter continued to add fuel to the fire beside him. Viper has always been diligent and eager to make progress. Even if she suffered grievances in the department, she never complained to us. This time, she was so severely bullied by Aria that she was so heartbroken that she tried to commit suicide by cutting her wrist. In my previous life, I didn't understand why. As my fiancé, Baxter always made things difficult for me everywhere but instead protected Viper. But now everything is clear. It turns out that they had already been having an affair for a long time. I laughed disdainfully, pushing the dosage of general anesthesia for a pregnant woman undergoing a cesarean section. This is not an accident but ignorance. Which doctor doesn't know this common sense? And besides, There are records of picking up the medicine in the pharmacy. Slap the tea on my face hadn't dried yet. And I took a solid slap again. This slap from the director completely stunned me. Stop making excuses. Everyone says that you bullied Viper and prescribed the wrong dosage of the medicine. Even your fiancé doesn't want to protect you. It shows how unpopular and hateful you are. I couldn't believe that these were the words spoken by the teacher I had always respected. Without verification and without distinguishing right from wrong. He directly convicted me. I just felt a sense of strangeness. I met the director's eyes with red eyes, trying to defend myself further. But he said coldly, "From now on, you will be suspended from your position and go home to reflect. A doctor as vicious as you is not worthy of practicing medicine. Regarding your promotion to professor and a series of salary increases, they are all cancelled. You can come back to work calmly when Viper forgets you someday." The person who had guided me onto the path of medicine back then had now completely changed. The person in front of me could no longer overlap with the lofty image in my heart. I gave a bitter laugh. And my heart was filled with coldness. Since the director refuses to give me justice, then I will seek justice for myself. I kicked open the door behind me, exposing everything in the office to the reporter's cameras. Facing more than a dozen cameras, I took out the medicine pickup slip and said, "This is the medicine pickup slip for yesterday's surgery. It clearly marks the dosage of the anesthetic used, which can prove that I didn't prescribe the wrong dosage." Then I took out my phone and played a video. This is the surveillance video at the door of my office, which can also prove that I didn't bully the intern. Traitor rushed out first and tried to grab my phone, but I dodged. The director then said angrily, "Aria, when will you stop being obsessed with your wrongdoings? Now you're just being suspended from your position. If you continue to make this matter bigger, then you will only have the path of being fired. As your teacher, I'm very grieved to see you like this." I looked at the old man in front of me and suddenly felt it was ridiculous. In the past, I regarded him as a god, and I obeyed all his teachings. I thought he was the best doctor in the world. Now it seems that he is just a better disguised medical waste. I put away my sad emotions and said coldly, "You are not worthy of being my teacher. Nor are you worthy of practicing medicine to save people." Then I pressed the play button of the video. In the video, Viper and Traitor sneaked up to the door of my office. "Brother Traitor, is it really okay to do this?" Looking at Viper's delicate and vulnerable appearance, Traitor promised with a face full of pity, "Don't worry. I will start the live broadcast half an hour in advance. When she comes back, you will kowtow to her. When the matter blows up, you pretend to commit suicide by cutting your wrist. I've already coordinated with others, so there's no need to be afraid of it being exposed." Then, Viper smiled sweetly and hugged Traitor. The surveillance video ended abruptly here. All the reporters present got the exclusive news and were eager to continue the interview. Just as they were about to go back and make a big splash, they were stopped by a voice. "I can also prove Aria's innocence. The patient who had just undergone a cesarean section yesterday was now sitting in a wheelchair and was pushed here by her husband. I'm the pregnant woman who almost died on the operating table yesterday. Aria was in charge of me throughout my entire pregnancy, and there were never any mistakes. Until a few months ago. Viper came. Although she interned under Aria, she didn't learn even a bit of Aria's medical ethics. She has no sense of responsibility at all." Cough. Cough. Seeing that she was getting excited, her husband quickly took over and said, "Since Viper came, she always gave us a cold shoulder during various examinations. When we asked about some precautions, she was always rude and reluctant to answer us at all. Even several times, she mixed up my wife's medicine pickup slip with that of another pregnant woman. There have been countless such unintentional mistakes. Yesterday, she almost caused my wife and the baby to die." Someone with sharp eyes saw Viper hiding in a corner and shouted loudly, "Hey! Isn't that Viper? She really isn't in the rescue." Hearing this, the reporters again picked up their cameras and surrounded Viper. "May I ask why you pretended to commit suicide to frame Aria and said that she bullied you at work? You used the wrong dosage of anesthesia and almost caused the death of both the mother and the baby. Aren't you at all guilty? As a doctor, You don't even have basic medical knowledge. May I ask if you can intern in the best hospital in this city because you have connections? A series of questions bombarded Viper one after another. But she couldn't answer any of them. What a joke. How could she answer? Admit that she is not only ignorant and incompetent but also stupid and malicious? After a long time, she finally cried bitterly in front of the camera with tears streaming down her face, I don't know anything. It was just that senior traitor taught me to do this. And I just followed his instructions. I didn't expect that the live broadcast would cause such a big public opinion. I'm really sorry. After saying that, she squatted on the ground and covered her face and wept. Everyone present turned to look at Traitor. And their eyes were filled with condemnation. Seeing this, Baxter stepped forward to protect Viper behind him and used his hand to block the reporters' cameras. In the end, it was the director who stepped in to disperse the reporters present. The pregnant woman vindicator from yesterday held my hand gratefully. Aria, thank you for saving my life. Don't worry. I will also find reporters to interview me and clarify this matter for you. I looked at the patient in front of me and then at Baxter who was protecting Viper. My heart was filled with sighs. It was just a doctor-patient relationship that lasted for a few months. Yet she endured the intense pain on the second day after the cesarean section to come and prove my innocence. However, my fiancé and the mentor I had trusted for nearly 10 years stood on the opposite side of me without distinguishing right from wrong. How ironic. The colleagues who were watching also started to gossip. I really didn't expect that Viper was such a person. How could she reverse the truth? Exactly. They almost wronged Aria. I think it still has to be Aria. She's the top surgeon in our department of gynecology and obstetrics. If it were a chief surgeon like Viper, we might have already gone to queue up for reincarnation by now. Traitor said with a dark face, watch your mouth. Aren't you afraid of getting ulcers in your mouth for saying such mean things? The onlookers were not to be outdone. You protect her so much. But does she appreciate it? Exactly. She just sold you out completely and absolved herself of all blame in a flash. I sneered. Why is it that you are allowed to reverse the truth, but others are not allowed to state the facts? Traitor bared his teeth and was about to retort, but was interrupted by the director. Enough. Don't you think our hospital isn't famous enough? After today, you let out a low sigh. And all of you. The doctors in our department of obstetrics and gynecology will all become famous people in this city. When everyone saw that the director was angry, they all held their breath and left consciously. The director waived the surgical fees and subsequent hospitalization fees for the couple, and even upgraded them to a VIP ward for free before leaving. However, regarding the mistakes Viper had made, he didn't mention a single word. Seeing that everyone had left, Viper came up crying again. Aria, I was really just temporarily confused and didn't mean to harm you. I also didn't expect that the live broadcast would cause such a big public opinion. I'm really sorry. I glanced at her and said expressionlessly, the reporters have all left. What are you still pretending for? What era is it now? You're still playing the act of feigning ignorance? If you were really innocent and naive, why would you hide outside the door and listen to me being disciplined by the director without coming out to explain? I was about to leave when Raider grabbed my arm. Aria, what right do you have to criticize Viper in a superior manner? What on earth do you think you are? He was really Viper's most loyal lackey. He had just been sold out in front of everyone. But now he was eager to protect his mistress again. I looked at him with eyes full of pity. Stop rushing to stick your neck out. Be careful of being sold out again without hesitation. After saying that, I entered the office and slammed the door shut. In the previous news, various newspapers and self-media all scrambled to report on it, coupled with the interviews with the patient and their family members. It fully proved my innocence. Although I wasn't suspended from my job, the hospital director still revoked my application for the professorship and completely blocked my path to promotion. From now on, as long as I'm still in this hospital, there's no possibility of any promotion for me. And Viper's reputation in the hospital has greatly declined. Patients are even more reluctant to let her diagnose and treat them. They don't even dare to let her pull out a needle. The colleagues who used to be close to her have also distanced themselves from her, and joined the camp of criticizing her one after another. She doesn't know anything when you ask her. She doesn't even know the most basic medical common sense. How did she get into our hospital? Exactly. The other day when she was on rotation in the emergency department, there was a patient allergic to penicillin. We reminded her countless times. But she still administered it. If someone hadn't seen it and stopped her in time, oh dear, our hospital would have been in big trouble. Who knows which big shot she's attached herself to? Whether it's Baxter or Director Fang, they're not people we can afford to mess with. Although Viper is my teaching student. After that incident, I don't want to shield her from these rumors at all. In the hospital, I'm being marginalized little by Baxter and the hospital director. It's almost time for them to transfer me to the pharmacy to dispense medicine. I've been using my spare time to study hard and perfect my unfinished thesis. Finally, tutting to Feldley. After publishing an SCI paper, I sent my resume to the school I'd been longing for. The written test and the initial interview all went smoothly. And after comprehensively evaluating my past achievements and the thesis, I'll be appointed as a professor upon joining. During the last round of the re-examination, due to my work schedule, the school made an exception and arranged the re-examination location in our hospital. Just as the interview was reaching its final stage, Viper pushed the door open and entered. Aria. Just like in the past, I put your name as the first author of my thesis. Oh, and there are also a few students who asked you to give private lessons. The tuition fee is 50 yuan per lesson. And I brought the money to you too. After seeing the room full of people, she put on a bewildered expression again and stammered, sorry. I didn't know you had guests. Senior sister. I was just talking nonsense earlier. The thesis and the private lessons. None of it is true. Seeing Viper's change of attitude, everyone present looked at me thoughtfully. I stood up and walked towards her. And gave her a slap cleanly. You still can't get rid of the habit of distorting the truth. Can you? Did I usurp the authorship of your thesis? Then could you tell me what the similarity rate of your thesis is and where it was published? And about the private lessons. Do you think this is an art exam? What's the need for medical students to have private lessons? I'd like to ask you that. She covered her face, and tears fell like pearls with a broken string. Senior sister. I just spoke without thinking for a moment. Everyone knows that the similarity rate of a thesis should be below 30. Below 30? I even feel that it lowers my standard to deal with her. I said coldly, the whole department knows that I'm having an interview in my office at this time today. Even a fly wouldn't dare to make a sound when passing by. But you not only came but also directly pushed the door open. And even if you came in, you still slandered me again. I pinched her chin and forced her to look into my eyes. Even for an undergraduate thesis, the similarity rate has been lowered to much less than 30 after the incident of Shai Miu. How could your thesis with a 30 similarity rate be published in an SCI journal? Even if you want to frame me, you should do your homework first. It's really difficult for me when you come here with an empty head like this. After saying that, I threw her heavily to the ground. Her face turned pale. After hearing about the 30, several interviewers from the school didn't even bother to give her a glance. After I drove her out, I continued with the re-examination. After seeing off the interviewers, by coincidence, I heard Viper's voice again in the stairwell. That bitch Aria. I will definitely make her fall into the abyss. N came Trader's voice, it's okay. Viper. I won't let her go and become a professor so smoothly. I felt disgusted and withdrew my hand that was about to push open the door of the stairwell. And instead took the elevator upstairs. People who are either bad or stupid can still be saved. But if someone is both bad and stupid, I think they are doomed. The day of my resignation was approaching soon. I was packing some things in advance in the office. Trader suddenly burst into the room. Aria. A large amount of medicine and experimental reagents are now missing from the hospital's laboratory. And the last person who used the laboratory was you. Now you have to find a way to retrieve the missing medicine and reagents yourself, or you can just wait to go to jail. I felt my eyes go black. Most of the medicine and reagents in the laboratory are under control. Many things are just reagents in the laboratory. but once they are out, they may be refined into drugs. If these things can't be retrieved, I'm as good as dead. But this can't possibly be a conspiracy by Traitor and Viper. They don't have the access rights to the laboratory. What are you staring at? You're told to go find the things now. Are you stupid? What? The once all-powerful Aria is scared now. Didn't you say Viper has an empty head? I wonder what good ideas you have in your head now. I raised my hand, and threw the box I was packing at him. And glared at him angrily. Your bad breath is stinking me. Don't think I don't know about you stuffing red envelopes and pulling strings for Viper in the hospital. If I report this to the discipline inspection department, no one will have a good time. Traitor licked the blood stain at the corner of his mouth and said unwillingly, fine. I won't argue with you about this for now. Hurry up and go to the laboratory to check the situation. Since the reagents in the laboratory were missing, I didn't have the mood to entangle with him either. I followed Traitor to the monitoring room of the laboratory. When I heard the sound of him locking the door, I suddenly turned my head. Why are you locking the door? I saw him smiling maliciously as he took out a fruit knife from his arms. He started recording. I lied to you. Nothing is missing from the laboratory. You're very scared, aren't you? You don't know what I'm going to do to you. Do you know how miserable Viper has been these days? Because of you. How many people have laughed at her? How many cold looks she has received? And how much scolding she has endured? He waved his hand towards the corner of the monitoring room. After a while, several rowdy-looking men came out from the darkness. Tell me, if a video of you having an orgy with multiple people is posted online, will the medical university still want an employee with a bad reputation? In an instant, my heart sank to the bottom. The more prestigious the school is, the more it values personal discipline. What's more, I'm a woman. Given the current public opinion in society, if such a video of me is exposed, even if the school still wants me, I'll be cyber-bullied to death. I looked around, observing if there were any other exits in the monitoring room. The laboratory is in a remote area, so it's no use shouting for help. Traitor stared at me and laughed. His tone sinister. Stop looking. There are only 2 exits here. And we blocked them. Moreover, no one will pass by at this time at all. Even if there were other exits. Could you escape from under our noses? You might as well just give up struggling. The guys here will be gentle with you later. After saying that, he walked towards me step by step holding the camera. And just then, there came the sound of the door being broken open behind him. Open the door. Police. Taking advantage of the moment when he turned around and was stunned, I stepped forward and kicked the fruit knife out of his hand, and grabbed a small wooden stool beside me and smashed it on his head. And the few hooligans he brought with him had already slipped out through the back door as soon as they heard the police. After knocking him down to the ground, I quickly went to open the door lock. Traitor was rolling on the ground clutching his wound. Why? You? He wriggled and crawled towards the fruit knife that had been kicked away. I quickly stepped forward and hit him twice with the stool again. I called the police a long time ago. You idiot. If the reagents in the laboratory were really missing, it wouldn't be you coming to me but the police. I've already said that when you want to do something bad, read more books. Don't come here with an empty head and offer yourself up. After being handcuffed by the police, Traitor looked at me with blood all over his face. Do you think you can report safely like this? Stop dreaming. Baxter has already reported to the supervision team that you accepted red envelopes. We've already arranged all the evidence. Just wait to be suspended and investigated. I really didn't expect that Baxter was also involved in this. Although there's no affection left between us now, due to family reasons, we haven't officially cancelled the engagement yet. I didn't expect that he would do such a despicable thing for Viper. After returning to the hospital from the police station after giving a statement, the supervision team soon came to me. In the following days, my resignation was postponed indefinitely until the truth was found out, and the school also informed me that they would decide whether to hire me or not after this matter was clarified. But surprisingly, the supervision team quickly cancelled the established investigation team. But at the same time, the hospital office didn't issue any notice. This made everyone talk about it for a while. Aria, what tricks did you use again? Viper finally showed her true colors and couldn't wait to challenge me in the hospital lobby. I shrugged and said inferiorly, "A clear conscience fears no shadow. I haven't done anything wrong. Even if you report me 1,000 or 10,000 times, I'll be safe and sound. Come to think of it, I should thank you." Trader's phone recorded all the words he said that day. It not only became evidence for the police but also proved my innocence to the hospital. As for Baxter, tut, he was implicated a lot by you. After saying that, I gave her a meaningful look and then left. The hospital office soon found out the truth and issued a disciplinary action against Baxter and Director Feng. Both of them were suspended without pay for 3 months. At the same time, Baxter's appointment as the vice president was revoked, and his position was downgraded by 3 levels. Even the originally scheduled spot for overseas training was cancelled. Baxter went from being the most sought-after youngest professor to a plague god that everyone in the hospital would avoid. Originally, heading falsifying, he wouldn't have received such a severe punishment, but he took all the blame for Viper. I was shallow. It turns out that he really loves her. But I don't care about all this anymore. What I want to do most now is to cancel the engagement with Baxter. I've endured it for so long because of the relationship between our 2 families in the past, but now, I really can't swallow this bitter pill. But I didn't expect that he would actually refuse. Now that you see me down and out, you're adding insult to injury? You're really a snob. We've had this engagement for so many years. Why cancel it now of all times? Canceling it at this juncture will make everyone laugh at me. I remain non-committal. Since you're not willing to cancel it, don't blame me for being too ruthless if something happens in the future. Originally, heading fulfilled out of consideration for the long-standing friendship between our 2 families, I wanted to leave him some leeway. Now it seems that there's no need for that. Since the matter of my resignation was postponed, I could just catch up with the hospital's year-end commendation conference. Although I had received a disciplinary action, core talents like Baxter and Director Feng still had the opportunity to speak on stage. I'm very grateful to the leaders for their trust in me. Just as Director Feng was speaking eloquently on the stage, a pornographic video started playing on the large screen behind him. And the place where the incident occurred was in my office. In the video, 3 people with disheveled clothes were entangled with each other. They were precisely Viper, Baxter, and Director Feng. Remember our deal. After today, you must help me bring Aria down. Accompanied by gasps, Baxter and Director Feng responded haphazardly. But their hands didn't stop moving for a moment. Don't worry. I'll take care of the supervision team. I've also prepared all the evidence. I'm just waiting for them to come and investigate. After getting the answer she wanted, Viper let out a coquettish laugh. Okay. Then I'll fulfill your wishes today. Viper, who was watching this scene from the audience, desperately tried to turn off the projection. It's fake. All of this is fake. This video is synthesized. Aria is framing me. At this moment, Baxter's face was so dark and it seemed to drip ink. His gaze towards me was filled with venom. I smiled and met his gaze, and mouthed to him, "I warned you." When I got up and left, the sound of Director Feng falling to the ground came from behind me. He had been a leading figure in the medical field for his entire life. Now, at the age when he was about to retire and was on the verge of achieving a successful career, he lost his good reputation overnight. She's just an intern. She doesn't know anything. I really didn't mean it. Medical FX. Someone recorded the events of that day and uploaded the video to the internet. It quickly went viral. Director Feng and Baxter now had no room to quibble at all. They were removed from their positions and investigated. The shares of the Baxter family also plummeted to rock bottom because of this incident. And my Aria family finally agreed to the matter of canceling the engagement. At the same time, I also reported and submitted a lot of evidence of the Baxter family's embezzlement. The properties of the Baxter family were all sealed up. Baxter tried everywhere to find someone to marry into his family to fill the financial hole of the Baxter family. However, because of the previous video scandal, no family was willing to marry their daughter to such a despicable man. After being reborn, I haven't forgotten for a single day that in my previous life, I was indirectly killed by Baxter. All along, I have been collecting evidence of the Baxter family's corruption and bribery, as well as the financial false accounts of their company, always waiting for a suitable opportunity to drag his whole family down. And that video was just something I accidentally filmed. After being reborn, as a precaution, I installed a camera in my office. I just didn't expect that when Viper did such a thing, she would actually bring people to my office. And it wasn't just once with Baxter. Perhaps it was a kind of curious psychology of a mistress trying to take the main position. In any case, she really helped me a great deal. Otherwise, because of the friendship between our two families, my family would not only not cancel the engagement but also do our best to help the Baxter family through the difficult times. This is also the reason why I insisted on canceling the engagement with Baxter in advance. All the people involved in the case of the Baxter family were imprisoned. Baxter was also found to have accepted large bribes in the hospital and was thrown into prison as well. Director Fang was rescued after fainting, but he has since disappeared from the public eye. As for Viper, that video went viral on the internet. After being fired by the hospital, she hasn't had any proper job. I heard that later she latched onto a wealthy local man. However, she was discovered by his wife, who called a group of people to block her in an alley without surveillance and teach her a lesson. When the police arrived, in the dark alley, there was a bloody mess with intestines spilled all over the ground. That wealthy local man seemed to be an illegal element from northern Myanmar. Coupled with insufficient evidence and no one pursuing the case, the police just let it go. 2 months later, I successfully started working at my dream school. The theme of the first class I taught every medical student was respecting and valuing life. I chose to come to the school to teach because I wanted them to learn to be kind and upright people before they learned to be doctors. I don't want any more people like Viper to become doctors. A doctor should have a benevolent heart. I hope every doctor can remember these 4 words.